The audience at Jimmy Kimmel Live was buzzing with anticipation. The lights were bright, the cameras rolling, and the energy in the studio was electric. Jimmy Kimmel, known for his sharp wit and bold humor, was introducing his next guest, and the crowd erupted when Harrison Ford walked onto the stage. The legendary actor, calm and composed, waved to the cheering audience, his iconic presence filling the room. Harrison smiled politely, shaking hands with Jimmy as they settled into their chairs. The interview started smoothly, with Jimmy praising Ford's long career, his iconic roles in franchises like Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and the remarkable dedication he had shown to acting over decades. Harrison responded with his signature dry humor, recounting a few behind-the-scenes anecdotes that made the audience laugh. At first, the conversation felt warm and engaging. Jimmy asked about Harrison's latest projects, his thoughts on returning to classic roles, and his experiences working with younger actors. Harrison spoke candidly, occasionally pausing to choose his words carefully, demonstrating the careful balance he always maintained between honesty and discretion. The audience hung on every word, sensing a rare glimpse into the life of a Hollywood legend. But as the interview progressed, Jimmy Kimmel began to push further. His questions grew more pointed, less about Harrison's craft and more about his personal life. He hinted at family matters, past relationships, and rumors that had circulated in the tabloids. "People have been talking," Jimmy said with a half smile. "But I think our viewers really want to know what really happened." Harrison's expression stiffened slightly, a subtle shift that did not go unnoticed by the audience. Harrison paused, leaning back in his chair. His jaw tightened. "Jimmy," he said carefully, "I've always respected you as a host, but I try to keep certain aspects of my personal life private. I hope you understand that." The audience murmured in agreement, sensing the tension rising. Jimmy, perhaps misreading the situation as playful banter, leaned forward with a smirk. "Come on, Harrison. We're all friends here. You've got nothing to hide, right?" His tone, light for the cameras, felt invasive in the moment. Harrison's eyes narrowed slightly, a quiet storm brewing beneath his calm exterior. The next question crossed a line. Jimmy brought up a rumor about Harrison's family that had been circulating online for years, phrased in a way that implied scandal. The laughter from the crew and audience felt forced, like they were complicit in a joke at Harrison's expense. For the first time, Harrison's composure seemed to falter. He took a slow breath, his hand gripping the armrest of the chair. "Jimmy," he said more firmly this time, "I think that's enough." The room fell silent. Cameras continued rolling, capturing every flicker of emotion on Harrison's face. Jimmy paused, sensing that he had pushed too far, but his ego wouldn't let him back down immediately. He attempted to pivot, trying to frame the moment as humor. All right. Just a joke, folks. Harrison, you know I love teasing you." But Harrison had reached his limit. Without raising his voice, he stood up from his chair. "I appreciate the invitation, Jimmy, but I'm going to step off here." The audience gasped, a mixture of shock and confusion rippling through the studio. He nodded politely toward Jimmy, turned and walked toward the exit, his steps deliberate and measured, as if reclaiming control over the situation and his personal boundaries. Jimmy froze for a moment, caught off guard. The cameras followed Harrison as he passed through the side door, the live audience erupting into murmurs and whispers. The crew looked at each other, unsure whether to intervene or let the moment unfold naturally. The energy shifted dramatically from excitement to tension, from amusement to respect for the man who had refused to compromise his dignity. Outside the studio, Harrison paused in the corridor, collecting his thoughts. He felt a mixture of frustration and relief. The situation inside had escalated, but he had maintained his principles. For decades, he had navigated the spotlight, handled interviews and endured media speculation, but he had always drawn a line. Tonight, he drew it clearly. Meanwhile, inside the studio, Jimmy attempted to regain control of the broadcast. He turned back to the camera, his usual charm slightly rattled. "Well, folks, that was unexpected," he said, forcing a laugh. "Sometimes even legends have limits, I guess." The audience applauded politely, many showing support for Harrison's decision to prioritize his personal boundaries over entertainment. Social media erupted immediately. Clips of Harrison standing, calmly addressing Jimmy, and walking off the set began circulating. Fans praised his courage and professionalism, noting how he had handled the situation with grace rather than anger. Memes and posts highlighted Harrison's quiet authority, calling it a masterclass in maintaining self-respect under pressure. Backstage, producers quickly debriefed. Some expressed concern over the abrupt end to the segment, while others understood the importance of respecting a guest's limits. Jimmy, reflecting on the moment, realized he had misjudged the situation. The push for a sensational moment had overshadowed the respect due to Harrison, as a person and as a professional. Harrison, after leaving the studio, spent a quiet evening at home reviewing the events. He knew the story would spread, would be dissected, and would likely generate endless commentary. But he also knew he had done the right thing. In a world obsessed with headlines and viral moments, he had prioritized his dignity and self-respect. That was more important than any fleeting media attention. The next morning, journalists and fans alike discussed the incident. Talk shows replayed the moment, some criticizing Jimmy, others applauding Harrison's composure. Interviews followed where Harrison emphasized the importance of boundaries and professionalism. He spoke with clarity, sharing his belief that personal life deserves privacy, regardless of fame or public curiosity. In the end, the incident became more than a viral clip. It was a statement. Harrison Ford, a legendary actor whose roles had inspired generations, reminded the world that even celebrities have the right to control their narrative. His walk-off was not an act of anger, but of principle, a quiet demonstration of respect for oneself, in the face of pressure and sensationalism. And for Jimmy Kimmel Live, the moment became a lesson in boundaries, respect, and the fine line between humor and intrusion. The episode was remembered not for jokes or anecdotes, but for the integrity of a man who refused to be pressured beyond his comfort, leaving an indelible mark on both viewers and hosts alike.